Good afternoon. Well, thank you for gathering together today to remember the life of our dear friend Eddie Schimonsky. His official name was Edmund. Some of us in the church would call him Crazy Eddie. Every once in a while I'd call him Ed Weirdo. But we loved him, and he's a great guy and has meant so much to his church, and I'm speaking on behalf of them. But I know that even more so, there's going to be a missing place here in this home and among the family that is United Cerebral Palsy here in Westlake. And we, as a congregation, want to thank you for all the support and care and love that you've given to Eddie over these years. And we're here together with you to celebrate his life. We're going to do so with some scripture readings, of course, and some music. We thank Dan for playing his saxophone for us today. And there's going to be some sharing that we'll have. So anybody would like to share a story or anecdote about Eddie's life or thought or expression, I've got at least one here. I know Gary Fox is going to offer another, who's his trustee, but we want to invite anyone who would like to do so to speak. You can stay where you're at, or you can come forward and get the microphone if you'd like, either way. So again, I want to thank you for being with us today, and I want to thank the United Cerebral Palsy organization for hosting us in the pavilion, and I believe there's some refreshments afterwards. Are they going to be out here or back inside? They're right back there. They're already there. Temptation. On a day like this, we can't help but have questions in our minds, along with the sorrow and hurt that we feel when we've lost someone. It's one of these days when we come with the big questions about what our lives mean and what happens after we die. Is there a God? As people of faith, we certainly turn to God with these questions. The Bible is a book that probably raises as many questions as it does answers, but the one thing it does trust is that God is with us and for us in any and all circumstances. So we hope that today that's the message that you hear, is that God is with you and for you, and God never leaves us. We're going to have a very rich religious experience today. Kathy's note that she handed me a minute ago talks a little bit about this, but you'll see yarmulkes on your table in front of you. I thought he was Lutheran. Apparently also went to synagogue, so at least for 24 hours was a Jehovah's Witness, so so we do have some more of those. If you want to wear a yarmulke today, cheers to Eddie. We will just go ahead and put them on there. They're right there in front of you on the table, and we have a couple extras as well. These are all from Eddie's collection, so apparently he went quite on and ripped off the yarmulkes. Let's bow our head in prayer, reach out to God, and ask God to touch our hearts and lives, and to relieve a bit of our grief and bring the joy of sweet memory to us again. God of grace and glory, we pause to give you thanks for our dear friend Eddie, who's certainly livened things up around here and brought great joy to our lives. And we recognize that he was a gift from you. And today, as we gather, we come to return him to you, but also to entrust ourselves into your care. So as we gather now, Lord, we ask that you be with those who are hurting most, those who, with the pain of this loss, it's difficult to get by. Allow your Spirit to touch their hearts and lives, bring them healing, even if you don't answer all the questions. Let your presence be guide and sustain us. We ask these things, trusting in the mercy of our Savior. Amen. There's a poem that I always liked, that always made me remember Eddie. It's by a little highbrow, it's Walt Whitman. But I always think of it when I come here because of the setting. This is a portion of a poem by Walt Whitman, Song of Myself. And it reminds me of these hillsides that you get to see lovely every day, and I know that there are hawks occasionally that are soaring up above and doing their hunting. And this is what Whitman says: "The spotted hawk swoops by and accuses me. He complains of my gab and my loitering. I too am not a bit tame. I too am untranslatable. I sound my barbaric yelp over the roofs of the world. The last scud of day holds back for me. It flings my likeness after the rest, and true as any on the shadowed wilds, it coaxes me to the vapor and the dust. I depart as air. I shake my white locks at the runaway sun. I effuse my flesh in eddies and drift in lacy jags. I bequeath myself to the dirt, to grow from the grass I love. If you want me again, look for me under the soles of your feet. You will hardly know who I am or what I mean, but I shall be good health to you nevertheless. Filter and fiber your blood. Failing to fetch me at first, keep encouraged. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere, waiting for you. So we come with a sense of faith through a day like this, trusting that a lot of our own lives, as we're going to hear today, a lot of Eddie's life, it was kind of untranslatable, or maybe not appropriate sometimes. But at the same token, we know that he was filter and fiber for our blood, and that he blessed us. And now today we trust God that one day we will see him again on that day when we will stand face to face with God. And God's promises to Eddie and to all of us finding fulfilled. Lynn, would you like to read for us a passage? Lynn Lewis, our diaconal minister at Congregation, has been a long-time friend of Eddie's, about a dozen years. So.
A reading from 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this tent we groan, longing to be clothed with our heavenly dwelling. If indeed, when we have taken it off, we will not be found naked. For while we are still in this tent, we groan under our burden, because we wish not to be unclothed, but to be further clothed, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us a spirit as a guarantee. So we are always confident, even though we know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, we do have confidence, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him. Here is the Lord.
Steve, are you? Eddie's just going to keep pushing stuff over. We'll keep you guys busy over here. Thank you. Steve, you want to read for us Psalm 23?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who knows it or has it?
Yeah, there should be memorial cards there. Are we going to say it together?
The shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness, for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare us table in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
I don't know if Steve, do you want to add any personal comments? Are you going to add some personal? I don't want to. I'm kind of throwing him under the bus right now. Okay. Sorry. I thought this was an opportunity. So.
Well, no, I just to again thank everybody for coming today. and thank the church for being so supportive of us coming up here all these years. And, not just helping Eddie, but helping the other clients as well.
Eddie's been a big part of our congregation, and because Eddie was a big part of our congregation, many of you became part of our congregation as well with the Christmas Angel program, and I think Dan's been up there leading worship times, and we've got an alpha course and all kinds of things up here at the home. So being with you has really broadened our lives as well. I'm grateful for our friendship with you, and we trust will continue. Gary Folks is Eddie's trustee, and so he has a few comments he'd like to make. Are you ready? Gary?
What can I say about Eddie? He was a great friend, an inspiration, a person that despite his disability remained upbeat and positive about life, a man that really did not judge and was grateful for life despite the disability, which was many times cruel and misunderstood. To those who knew Eddie, most of you did, each of you will share a separate time and moment to remember him all. But who was Eddie Schimonsky? To most people, Eddie was a small, frail man tethered to a wheelchair. They did not know that Eddie once ran and played like we all did as children. And you see, in the 1940s, cerebral palsy was a misunderstood and misdiagnosed affliction, which I know many of you are aware of. Eddie suffered from quadriplegia cerebral palsy, but there are many forms of cerebral palsy. Approximately 80% of the 800,000 people afflicted with cerebral palsy have what is known as spastic cerebral palsy, which is a contraction of the muscles. A smaller percentage have aphthoid cerebral palsy. Unfortunately, Eddie had a combination of both. This resulted in a progressive worsening of the affliction as the years went by. Usually, cerebral palsy is diagnosed shortly after birth or within a few years. But Eddie was unusual. It was not until approximately the age of 30 that it was realized he had some type of disorder that was affecting his muscles. Regardless, we'll probably never know how Eddie acquired cerebral palsy. And of course, we all know that the cruelest part of this affliction is that it leaves the mind intact. Now, back in the 40s and 50s in New Jersey, where Eddie was from, there really was no protocol or treatment for the disease. Eddie was housed in a facility where both the physically and mentally handicapped lived. Over the next 20 years, Eddie's bodily functions, his ability to walk, speak, all deteriorated to a point where he became dependent on others for his care. In 1977, the United Cerebral Palsy Foundation, which had been in existence since 1949, finally got some funding, and a facility was opened in Silmar, California. Eddie's mom, Irene, petitioned for a bed at that facility. Eddie was accepted, and in 1977, he began a 10-year residency in Silmar. When this facility was opened in approximately 1988, Eddie became one of the first residents. As the years went by, it became more and more difficult. You may recall his mother, Irene, she moved to Newberry Park, and most weekends she'd come by and pick Eddie up and take her to her home. In 1997, Irene approached me about taking on the responsibility of Eddie as his trustee in case something should happen to her. Little did I know that less than a year later, Irene would be gone, and my life with Eddie began. Now, many of you have contacted me and given me some accolades and kudos for what I did for Eddie during his lifetime. But I want to assure you that it was not what I did for Eddie, but what Eddie did for me. For you see, Eddie's legacy is what he taught others during his lifetime and what he taught me. What most people don't understand about the handicapped in America. After being with Eddie for approximately 15 years, like himself and many of you, I became keenly aware of the fact that the handicapped are probably the most disenfranchised and unrepresented people in America. People don't want to acknowledge the need of this country for the handicapped. Eddie, in a small way, was an advocate of that. Each time there was some type of a bill on Capitol Hill, he'd make sure I got a copy of it. Or each time there was an issue with respect to the handicap, he made sure I was aware of it. What else did Eddie leave as a legacy? Eddie left not only a legacy of an advocacy, but Eddie created in all of us the love of life for the human spirit. You know, Eddie loved his Dodgers, he loved his beer, he loved his Lakers, he loved UCLA, hamburgers, 7 and 7. He liked to go to the track. He liked Las Vegas. When we'd be driving to one of the games or the venue, Harley Davidson would go roaring by. Eddie would start to shake his head and grunt. He wanted to go on to Harley Davidson. If he ever saw a pretty girl go by in a convertible, boy, he made sure I was aware of it. I think if I would have let him go skydiving, he would have accepted it. He was an adventurous. He had an infectious sense of humor. He was a pleasure to be around. It's been said that all Eddie really wanted to be was just a regular guy from New Jersey. But you know what? He was so much more than a regular guy from New Jersey. So what is Eddie's legacy? Although he was small in stature, he had the strength of a lion, the strength to overcome adversity, discrimination, misunderstanding. And you know what? There wasn't a bitter bone in his body. I can never once remember Eddie getting seriously angered or upset over anyone, any time I took him to the venues, and there was many times that he should have been upset. Because you see, the handicapped are treated in many respects as second-hand citizens. We would go to the Laker game, we would buy tickets that should have put us in a good seat. They put us under the basket where he couldn't see. But you know what? Eddie's spirit was never diminished. He also taught me about forgiveness. Despite all he went through in his lifetime, I never recall him having a bad thing to say about anyone. He knew people would not understand him or his disease. He knew what his situation was in life. But he was not bitter. He still loved life. He taught me about faith. Despite all he went through, his faith in God and his faith in his fellow man never wavered. He knew one day he would face his Maker and shed himself with the body he was in. He never lost faith that this day would come. He taught me about friendship. Eddie had one of those personalities that if you wanted to be his friend, he gladly accepted you for what you were. It did not matter where you came from, what your race was, what your color was. You were accepted by him. Prejudice was not part of his vocabulary. In today's society, we've come to expect instant gratification. We don't get it, we get upset. How many times have we got into arguments with others for being late, for missing an important occasion, for missing a birthday? I can tell you that many times I let Eddie down. I said I'd be here at a certain time to pick him up. I promised to take him to a certain game or a certain venue and we weren't able to go. Not a single time did he show me unhappiness or his frustration or his disappointment with me. A friendship like that happens only once in a lifetime. And really, when it boils down, when it all boils down, everything's all said and done, isn't that what life is all about? A friend to talk to, a touch, a hug, a shoulder to cry on, somebody that is there for you, kind of need. Eddie was always there. I guess all of you at some point, I guess all of us at some point in our lives ask the same questions. Eddie was probably no different. Why was I put on this earth? Why did this happen to me? Where am I going? How long do I have? But for me, and I suspect most of you out there, you would like to think that when your time comes, you made a difference in this world. That the earth is a better place for you being here. And I can assure you, for me, Eddie left this place, left this earth better off than it was before he was there. He may have wanted to be just a regular guy from New Jersey, but he ended up being an extraordinary guy. We'll miss Eddie, but we won't forget him.
We'd like to invite some of you to share if you'd like to, and I mentioned there's some staff and maybe some of the residents who would like to. Some of you know him a long time. Judy, Ricky, and Mauricio have known him a long time. You can come to the mic or.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Robertson, an RN here at the facilities. And, you know, you all know that I love Eddie, and he was very special, and what Gary said is absolutely true. He has moved us all in such a way, and we so appreciate, and we will miss him so much. Where is he with a picture with his tongue sticking out? Where is that? So what I have here is one of our former residents, Elisa Nadell, emailed me a little something that she wanted for me to share with you since she could not be here. Elisa Nadell does not speak as Eddie didn't. He had a communication device, and he was very good at it. She had one also, and it was really high tech. So of course Eddie had to have one of those, and he did. He was still learning, you know, Lisa was helping him learn how to use that. But this is what she wrote with her eyes to me in an email. It's miraculous, actually. He was a very good man, and he was a very funny man too. I had a lot of fun with Ed. Also, he loves to joke with me. Also, I love to joke with him. And yes, he loved that totally. One time I put Ed outside. She had an electric wheelchair, a power chair. She just pushed him outside for him because he wanted to go out. And he thought that was so funny. And they laughed together. But she knows that he is in a better place now. He is with friends and family who know him, and she says, I will always miss him, and I will remember him, and how now that she's remembering that he is now free in the sky like a bird. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
I didn't actually, everybody hear me? Okay. I didn't actually prepare anything formally, but I did want to say I write children's material, and I think that oftentimes in children's material there's truth, kind of pearls of wisdom about life for all of us. There's a book called The Velveteen Rabbit. I don't know if you all have read it. But I kind of take from that book, one of my takes from that book, is that as our outsides wear out, our insides can shine out. So a lot of times when we are at our healthiest or at our best, or when we think we're at our best, the deepest, most meaningful qualities in us are not necessarily being utilized as much. I hope you're following me. I've been here since the December of 2003. I have felt since the very, very beginning that it's been a great blessing in my life. That every single person here has taught me so much about friendship, about courage, about love, about kindness, about forgiveness, about emotional generosity. I'm constantly learning and constantly being grateful and thankful. Regarding Eddie, this was difficult, I think, for a lot of us. The joy for me was that I was able to take him quite a bit during his hospice period. And during that time, I did ask if he would like to help me to put together, one of the things I do is I help to put together tutelage libraries for children who are in at-risk situations. And I asked him if he would like to help me put together one. He was, even on hospice, he was like, yes, and he was very enthusiastic about that. And I brought in some books, and he picked out which ones he thought the children would be most helped by. And I think when we talk about legacy, or whatever, I mean, That's just one tiny way that his legacy will also be passed on. I particularly asked him for help with that project because I always saw him as somebody who had one of the gentlest souls that I knew. So when I think of Eddie, I think of a few things. Also, some may not know, but when I do what's called a vow with somebody, what it really is getting to know them, what they like, what's meaningful to them, their experiences in life. With Eddie, it took a while to get the meaningful information because of the communication, but he was able to communicate it. And I will say, I treasure the things that he shared with me. I treasure getting to know him over a long period of time and the deepening of that friendship. And I think we all treasure his sense of humor. And who did he not make laugh? And his gentleness. Right, Don? Did you not say that? Yeah. Such a gentle soul. I will say, I think there's at least one photo over here where he's wearing a lei. I think there might be one other from a luau. But on more than one occasion, actually, he kind of had a history of sponsoring, paying for meals for everybody out here in the patio. So that he, like for the luau, actually went to everybody's favorite restaurant and paid for it to be catered, and really made a special event much more special for everybody. And that was something he wanted to do. Like I really checked with him, don't feel pressured. You offer, but don't feel pressured. Do you really want to do this? And he always said yes. So anyway, I'll just close. I just thought it would tell it on the mountain, so I guess I'm on the mountain right now. I will just close with one of the things that he and I talked about, or just that I mentioned when I was visiting with him quite often, was something that a character told me when I was writing a story for the character. In this story, there were two best friends, and one of them had to leave. And the character that was being left behind was very afraid and sad. What would they do without their best friend? Sorry. But this didn't make him cry. But anyway, the friend said to the friend that he was leaving that friendship, love, friendship, love, that in life that's really the only safe place, and it stretches forever. So wherever you are, whether you can see somebody or not, that love exists. And it doesn't matter if you're here and I'm downtown at a hospital, or if we're here and Eddie's in heaven, we're still connected. And that seemed to be a great piece to me, and it seemed to be something he connected with too. So thank you for letting me blab on. I didn't prepare anything, but I do fully agree that Eddie was extraordinary. But I feel that way also about every single person that I've met who's lived in these homes. And you guys are my greatest teachers and my greatest inspiration. And I love you all just like I love Eddie. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to share a few words? Pastor?
Dad. Sometime me and Donovan sitting in the patio. He was holding on to something. And they were laughing about something. And I told Don, I bet you anything buying a magazine, and the bottle of wine opened till he'd be down here at man. He'd be down here like quick. But all in all, he was okay. Even if I had to bring on the wall, I don't know. But he was okay. And then it got quiet. And that was it. Yeah. That bottle of wine and that Playboy bunny magazine, I'd come down there. I bet you he would.
Seemed to be a pattern.
That is loud.
My great memory and his smile, his sense of humor, his generosity, his laughter, his determination to try to do anything to increase his knowledge and parts of his life. His willingness to try different and unusual things. He's an extremely nice guy. And he was always trying to keep a positive attitude even during the roughest of times. Thank you very much.
My name is Lorraine, and for many, many years, I tutored Eddie at the school. And I know many of you wonderful people who are also students at the school. And you're just very special, all of you. I have to tell you, though, about one time, Eddie and I had a lot of fun. We started out, I was tutoring him in reading, and then it was math. And then it was just, let's do a little whatever comes up, and let's do some reading. And I read to him this book and that book, and then we got started on the Harry Potter series, which is really a lot of fun. But anyhow, I have to tell you about one little conversation I had with Eddie that kind of came out before. I said to Eddie one day as I was walking with him, Eddie, did you go to church this weekend? Okay. But he looked at me like, ask me some more, there's something more going on. So I said, did you go to someplace else? Did you go to synagogue? I said, Eddie, you must have been very bad this week. He gave me that look like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? He was just a really nice person, and everyone who said that was very right. And it was a pleasure and wonderful.
Thank you so much. And he was going apparently to the bar on Sunday night, so he also had to like bake. I guess he was baking his goodness. He loved school, and for many years, all he would talk about was getting his GED. All he wanted to do, it's all he could ever talk about. So thank you for helping him with that. A number of folks have tutored him over the years, and we're grateful for each of them.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, we had so many great opportunities to share about his life at our church service, but just listening to everybody else, it brought me to an awareness of the many other gifts he brought us. One, and you already mentioned it, is his laughter and his joy. At a church service, you're supposed to be very serious, it's worshipful, it's quiet, and every time Pastor would say anything that was funny, he would be the first one to laugh. And Judy, you keep it up, because Judy back there, you sound like Eddie. That's what I like. you will just speak up and not be embarrassed to let your spirit show. The other thing that he did for us is he introduced us to you. A lot of people are uncomfortable with people who have any disability, and from the day he came into our congregation, he was a gift to every one of our children, every one of our members, because he let us know that God doesn't make favorites when it comes to people he loves. Eddie showed his love, and he showed us love, and he introduced us to you. And we just want you to know that just because Eddie's done doesn't mean that we still don't love you. And we've gotten to know many of you, and we look forward in Christmases to come to make sure that we continue to send gifts, because it's in that spirit of closeness that we've had that we've received so much from you. One final thing is he brought people together. And I will speak, we made jokes about it at the church, that he was a very strong Republican. And one of the things that we had is a gift, and I'm going to make fun of Karen here because this is really fun. And she's holding the camera and she can't stop. Because this year he asked for his Christmas present was a Republican calendar. And Karen, who is a very committed Democrat, took his name and had to find a way to get a Republican calendar. And then he had the audacity to die before Christmas. So she came to me and said, "You're the only other Republican I know. Here's his calendar." I want you to know that one of the things that Eddie did is he brought people together. And whether it's you and us, or it's Republicans or Democrats, old or young, what a gift he was to bring joy and a non-judgmental attitude. And he had fun, and we had fun because of him. So I just wanted to share that. Oh, one final. I think it was 2 days before he passed. We were here, Lori and I came, and we wanted to spend some time. I don't think he was really conscious at that time, at least when we were there. But the gentleman who was there from hospice made the observation. He said, "You know, when I first came here and I saw in his file that he had no family, I thought he was going to be alone a lot." And he said it was just a turnstile of people coming in. You coming in, members of the community, synagogue, churches, Republicans, Democrats. And everyone was blessed. And you know what that means to me? He not only brought the best for himself, but he brought the best out in us. And that's a gift I hope we can continue to share.
Anybody else like to share any words? Are we doing okay? Okay.
I remember every night he was behind me.
Some things, others don't get. Just in case of anything you want to emphasize
So he's just saying that, you know, that he's in a better place, and that his mom is with him to help. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think you said too in the beginning that you, Eddie, he was a friend, and that you sat near him at dinner.
Yeah, they always sat next to each other at meal times, and they were both really into sports. And I think they even talked about before everything happened with Eddie, before he went on hospice, talked about going to a sports game together. because that was something John always wanted to do. And, you know, Eddie was always game for something. Yeah. Oh, and the horse races, yeah. Yeah, he had a lot of big plans, and he always talked about going back to New Jersey too. It was a big thing for him for many years. I came to know Eddie for the last 7 years that I've been working here. And I think what everybody's had to say was a really true reflection of him. He was just a fun spirit, just a fun guy, and really loved life. And he taught me a lot too about communication, all the different ways that people communicate and things you can say with your eyes and expressions, which was kind of intimidating for me at first. But we had some really great conversations over the years, lots of fun ones, and he always had some really good jokes. So yeah, that he'll definitely be missed. And I think that everyone's lives were a little bit brighter for having him in it.
Smart man.
And I just didn't realize how many people actually knew him. I took him to Vegas a few times. I took him to the casinos around here, the horse races, Jan's Marketplace. And every time we'd be out, you know, people would come up to him and talk to him and say hi, even in Vegas. I didn't know if I could come up and say anything. I knew probably all day I've been thinking about if I could or not. I don't like to show any kind of emotion in public, and I'll put a side to it. But I just wanted to say that, you know, it means a lot. And this is...
think I went swimming with Eddie once and he got in the water. No, I didn't actually go swimming. Thank you. You've been an important part of his life for a long time, so we're grateful. How about Kathy's? You ready? Kathy's back there, but she asked me to read it for her, so I just want you to know where this is coming from. As I pack Eddie's things away, I think about all the fun times we had together. You see, I've known Eddie for half of my life, which means I was 12 when I started working for UCB. Anyway, as I came across the Jehovah's Witness brochure in his room, and I remember a time when they came and visited some of our clients, and he gestured to me that he wanted to join the group. So I brought him over to be with him. The next day, he told me that he liked the blonde lady. Not the religion. He would attend temple on Saturday and church on Sunday, and for 24 hours he thought he was a Jehovah's Witness. We could say he'd like to expand his horizons. Eddie loved going to oddballs and schnookies. When I took him to schnookies, he liked the fact that it was wheelchair accessible. He figured more room, much more women. I can't believe you made me say this. The last event we went on together was in May. It was called Wheels to the Sea, an 8-mile hike through the Santa Monica Mountains. Beautiful scenery, and the weather was perfect. The hike ended at Sycamore Cove Beach, where a nice buffet was waiting for all of us. Such a great day. We're so glad we did that together. For a man who was nonverbal, he sure said a lot. He communicated through facial expressions and gestures, his board, communication device, and his tongue. Eddie made sure his needs were met. He would let everybody know what he wanted because he wanted to make sure that it was going to be done. Like starting his van up every other day so the battery would die. Apparently he was worried about making it to Schnookies. She didn't say that. Making sure he had his spending money during the weekend. Purchasing gifts for people's birthdays or holidays, getting his wine and beer. Everybody loved Eddie. He has so many friends. People of all ages would gravitate toward him with his silly laugh and contagious smile. That's how I will always remember him. I love and miss you, buddy. See you again someday. Yeah.
In the hospital one day, and not long after, the florist delivered a big bouquet of flowers. And I think it was my husband, you know. And it says, "Get well soon, Eddie Schimonsky." I don't know who the heck Eddie Schimonsky is. Because Dawn and I always called him Basket. My husband comes home, and I said, "Did you send me those flowers?" He said, "No, who sent me those?" I said, "Somebody put a name of Eddie Schimonsky." He said, "What's going on with you?" Come on, you're not fired. And later on, I'm talking to Dawn about our day, and I said to Dawn, "Guess what? I got a bouquet of flowers." I said, "I don't know which one." The guy called Eddie Schimonsky. He says, "Mom, that's passe." I told him you weren't feeling well. I don't know how he got your address, but I don't know how he did it, but I got it. So I have a very special one.
That's great.
Yeah.
He's a resourceful guy.
I don't know.
That's what it's like confronting.
You can find it. The interloper.
Did he laugh? He just cracked up.
Because we always plan to go for a drink.
Did you ever do it?
We never did.
No. Well, I was thinking about drinking a beer today, but I don't know if I get in trouble. I'll have to crack open
We
one
never
case.
did because every time I was planning to, he'd be at the hospital with gastric problems. I'd go there and tease him. His body didn't handle the liquor as well as he would have.
As much as he wanted it to, yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I remember Eddie's mom, and we went to the deck, and we went talking with Eddie and his mom. I went talking with Eddie and his mom once, and I'll never forget that day that I spent with Eddie and his mother.
Yeah, Eddie and Irene were a dynamic duo. She was quite the handful. She used to dance on tables.
She had a new joke each time.
Every time.
Every time. Where did she get that?
I don't know. I'll tell you my favorite in a minute.
Since we move on to the stories of Irene,
Yeah.
I always, when I think of Eddie, I always think his smile.
Yes.
Always the way he was. I remember his mother very well. His Andrew and Eddie died. So she shared with us one time when we were at a parent meeting, and she says, you know, I had to have surgery on my cataracts. My doctor had been bugging me and bugging me. And so I went and had my surgery. And I got home and I'm like, oh my God, who lives here? This house is dirty. I looked in the mirror and who's that old lady?
It gets wilder from there. She would dance on the tables at parties. And one of my favorite, maybe this is one you heard too. I think this one she did in Newbury Park, and they had there's a seniors only residential area. So there was a new gentleman that came, and she kind of shined on him, and she came up to him and she said, "Why, you look like my third husband." And he said, "Well, how many husbands have you had?" She said, 2. He was a chip on the old block. Anyways, but I'm going to visit. He would be the first to get my jokes, the first to laugh in church, and he was always giving gratuity laughs, even if it wasn't good. So I didn't miss it. That part of it. Dee, yeah, please.
I have an Irene story as well. Irene was getting up there in age and didn't like to drive long distances, but her neighbor 2 doors down said, "Irene, can you take," knowing she had a car, "can you take me to the grocery store?" So Irene says, "Sure, I'll take you to the grocery store." So she goes out and she turns this way and this way and this way. She says, "I've never been to the grocery store this way." And she says, "I didn't tell her I only made right turns."
Keith, you gonna tell your story on Eddie, the one you told the church?
Sure. Eddie saw an infant baptism at church one Sunday, and he was all inspired. And he says, "I want to be baptized." And I said, "Well, I'm sure your mother took care of that when you were a baby." And he says, you know, in so many words, "I don't care. I want to be baptized." So I talked with Pastor Solberg, and he was kind of by the book, but very soon we were getting a certificate and his candle and all, and Eddie was baptized in front of the whole church, and he was so happy, and just that big smile, and you know, ready to go. He was just thrilled to have been baptized.
That guy he was a paradox. One level, he was one of our saints.
Yes.